Who do you think you are?
I ask myself that question every single day.
The transformation that enabled you to lose 30 kilos is the same transformation that enabled you to go from working at Google to now being on Forbes 30 under 30.
I lack confidence. I should back myself.
The answer that I'm looking for is the truth, because I think that's what people connect with.
It was a $10 million deal at that point, and the deal didn't go through. And we ended up going from a team of over 45 to a team of 12. You say the word sacrifice, but for me, I think it's a choice.
And I can relate personally to fucking everything you just said. I'm deeply introverted.
You just turn it on when you need to turn it on, right?
100%.
For every dollar you put in, you get $1 or less back. That is not growth.
Welcome to this episode of Elevate. I'm Jack Delosa. Today I'm joined by prominent Australian entrepreneur, co-founder and CEO of EQ, a health tech company that offers personalized nutrition plans that promote sustainable eating habits. Through EQ, Amal Wakim has helped 75,000 customers. And in today's episode, we cover her journey from working at Google to being featured on Forbes 30 under 30, and her own personal health struggles and how they laid the foundation for her multi-million-dollar business that has inspired the nation. Amal Wakim, thank you so much for joining us in Elevate.
Jack, thank you for having me on the show. I'm super excited to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. I am genuinely excited about this conversation because you are somebody that has been through not just a health transformation, but an identity transformation, and obviously an incredible business journey that's come largely as a result of the habits and the skills that you've picked up along the way. One photo that I think really kind of symbolizes that entire journey is the photo that we've got up on the screen now. For those watching and listening, talk to us about what we're looking at when we look at this before and after photo.
Yeah. Well, when you look at this photo, what you see is a 30-kilo transformation.
Wow.
What you don't see is the mindset shift and the person that I became in the after photo and who I am today.
Yes.
And my transformation was so pivotal in my journey, not only for the business that I have today, but also for the person that I am and just character building, right? The habits that I've built and just the way that I approach things and life in general. So yeah, it happened over a decade ago and I've kept the weight off for a very long time. So when I look back at that photo or someone makes reference, I'm like, I can't even remember the person that I was because it was such a long time ago. But because I'm not that person anymore and I haven't been that person for a very, very long time. But like I said, it was so pivotal in my journey and shaping who I am today as a person.
I love that because I don't bring it up for aesthetic reasons. I more bring it up because it represents and symbolizes, it would have to, an identity shift. And that's what you said, I'm just not that person anymore. This is who I am now. Can you talk to us about some of the paradigm shifts that you needed to go through in order to, I suppose, upgrade your identity in many ways?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a few that are standouts. And I think the first is discipline. And that's what my transformation really taught me, because one day I woke up and it was really after having a confronting conversation with my GP when he told me I was borderline diabetic and had to lose the weight.
Right.
It was that day where I woke up to myself and I thought, I can't continue to be this person. But if I continue the habits that I currently live my life by, which is online gaming, I was an online gamer, eating ridiculous amount of calories, like, crazy amounts of food and snacking on like the most horrible things.
How many calories a day would it have been?
Oh gosh, I reckon easy like 2,500 to 3,000.
Okay. Yeah.
And for a 16-year-old girl, sitting at a computer all day, not doing any sports, like my parents really tried to get me out of the house.
Yeah.
That's a lot of calories. And yes, I was a growing female and we need the, the nutrients, but it was just coming from all the wrong sources.
Yes.
And so it taught me discipline because I decided to make a change. And from that day onwards, I made that commitment to my health. And yes, and we can absolutely touch on this throughout my journey, my business journey, I've, deprioritized my health, which I have, I guess not regrets, but have made that decision that health will always come first. But that morning I woke up and I said to myself, this is it. And I'm going to be that person that is my healthiest self for the rest of my life. And that requires discipline.
100%. So I want to dive into this. We will talk a little bit about business and dive deep into that in a moment. But I just want to follow this thread because something I'm often talking about with my audience is focusing on the right things and developing habits that you can be consistent with to up-level any area of your life, whether that's business, finances, relationships, health and fitness, whatever it might be. One thing I find fascinating about you is you've gone from the picture that we just uploaded to now helping 75,000 other people around the world go through their own transformation. What have you seen trips people up and keeps people stuck when it comes to enacting change for the better?
The way they feel.
Interesting.
And when you go through a transformation and when you start applying habits that benefit your life, you start to feel the result of that almost immediately. Whether it be, you eat better and the next day you're less bloated, or you sleep better, or your energy's better, or, you see a drop on the scale. But what keeps them going is the feeling that they get immediately after doing those better habits. And that's the same for me. You feel the difference when you wake up and you go to the gym, or you move your body, you have a nourishing meal, you drink water, you sleep well, versus wake up on my phone, on Instagram, eating like shit, not sleeping. I'm not my best self.
Yeah.
And so for them, when they start to actually feel that, they're like, I don't want to let this feeling go.
Yes.
Why would I? Because I feel great.
Yes. And I think that's why so much of the science around habits talks about starting small, because a lot of people might look at your journey or look at some other people's journey, whether it comes to business or fitness or whatever it might be, go, I'm going to set out to lose 30 kilos. But sometimes that can be the wrong goal because it sets you up to fail. Whereas setting small goals or setting small habits that you can stack those wins and then get that dopamine reward on a daily basis, you kind of create this upward spiral and then it compounds. Is that consistent with, I suppose, your training methodology and how you help people overcome those blockages?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because I've spoken to a habit expert before, and she said that you need to get so down to like that micro level where that first habit, say you want to get back into the gym, that first habit of going to the gym isn't to get to the gym. It's not to set 3 training days or 5 training days and lock them into your calendar. It's getting up and putting your training shoes on. And that's it. When you think of it like that, because when we think about building habits, we're like, okay, well, I'm going to go to the gym. And so I'm going to go 5 days a week. And then the thing is, you set yourself up for failure. So when you go from 0 to 5, that's going from 0 to 100, right? You don't go 5 days in the first week. Your body's sore, things come up, whatever it may be. And then the next week, you just don't go again because you feel like you failed at whatever you set yourself to achieve. But that's the same when it comes to our nutrition plan. So with EQ, it's not about a lifestyle change. We're not here to say, go from eating this every day to eating this. We actually incorporate all the foods that you love so it doesn't feel like you're making that change, but helping you make smarter swaps. And if you're not perfect, great. If you're perfect, then you're probably not going to sustain it for the rest of your life because it's like those little baby steps and those little micro changes are what allow you to become, this better person and build those habits.
100%. And I want to be really clear for everybody watching and listening. We're not just talking about health and fitness right now. We're talking about who you need to become and the actions you need to consistently take to underpin that. And so whether you want to be a more present partner, whether you want to be a more energetic parent, whether you want to be more consistent in focusing on the things that truly matter in business as opposed to just busying yourself with noise all day, every day. It's the same blueprint. It's the same game. And so one of the things I was saying to Amal before we started rolling is the transformation that enabled you to lose 30 kilos is the same transformation that enabled you to go from working at Google to now being on Forbes 30 under 30. It's the same stuff, just applied to a different area of life.
Absolutely.
One of the philosophies I believe you teach people to understand is we have to be consistent, which is clear. And to my view, we also have to be comfortable being uncomfortable, right? And so if I want to lose fat and gain muscle as a man, I need to be in a calorie deficit while doing weights training, which means I'm going to be hungry. And so I think there's so much power to understand that I'm going to be hungry. That's okay. That's part of the course. and then being able to consistently kind of make those sacrifices, for lack of a better word. Talk to us about your experience around that and the kind of methodology you've developed around that in terms of being up for the challenge regardless of what the goal might be.
Yeah, I think that we all know that you don't grow in comfort, and it applies to every part of your life, whether it be business or health or anything. And so I think that it's just applicable to even what we do at EQ.
Yeah.
But it's funny because you say the word sacrifice, but for me, I think it's a choice.
Definitely.
So when you choose to lose weight and when you choose to start a business or when you choose to be in a relationship, you make a choice. And so people look at that as like, I'm sacrificing this, or, you know, I have to sacrifice my relationships or my time for my business, or I need to sacrifice my social plans to lose the weight or whatever it may be. But it's like, no, you are making a choice.
Yeah.
And that immediate mindset shift, thinking of it so differently, just allows you to just have a different perspective on it all and think, well, I'm doing this because I want to do this, not because I have to do this. And so, yes, there are so many times in my own personal journey, whether it be my weight loss or my business journey, where I've felt so uncomfortable, where it's been so challenging and I've wanted to throw in the towel. I literally texted my boyfriend a week ago saying, I don't think I can get through today. I literally said to him, I don't think I can get through today, because I was just so overwhelmed with stress and anxiety and, you know, just going through the motions of business. But I just remind myself, but I chose to do this.
Yes.
So I need to stop feeling sorry for myself and I need to keep doing what I need to do.
Yes.
And so when you start to shift your mindset, that's when you really start to see that change. And I think that's super important.
The Amal 10 years ago and the Amal today, from an identity perspective, how did she see herself? How would she have described who she is? And how would the Amal today describe who she is?
It's funny because I feel like I had so much more confidence back then.
Wow. And isn't that interesting?
It's so interesting because I look back at that time and I think that my business is built off my own image, right?
Yes.
It's based on my own weight loss. And I think back then, maybe it was just the age that I was at. It's so different because those things don't matter. I never actually thought I was overweight. So like I'd look in the mirror and I actually didn't think I was overweight. I was just confident. I was outgoing. I was an extrovert. But now I'm the complete opposite.
Yeah.
I'm an introvert, which people don't actually see.
Yeah.
They think that I'm an extrovert because of what they watch on podcasts and what they see on Instagram and so on. But I am the most shyest person you'll ever meet until I get to know you.
Yeah.
And I get so anxious in social settings, particularly like business ones where I don't know anyone. I'll go and hide in the bathroom until a friend that I know attends the event. And I lack confidence. You know, I should back myself a lot more. I back myself a lot in business. But even just like, you just have self-doubt. And it's funny because I was the complete opposite in 10 years' time. It's probably not the answer you were looking for. You're probably thinking you were this strong woman that came out of this transformation. But
no, because the answer that I'm looking for is the truth, because I think that's what people connect with. And I can relate personally to fucking everything you just said. So I'm also an introvert, which people think
I would never have guessed that.
Right, and I would never have guessed that about you, because people see me on stage and on podcasts and, you know, doing content or whatever. I'm deeply introverted.
You just turn it on when you need to turn it on, right?
100%, yeah. And I enjoy it and I'm good at it. But my natural, you know, like last week I spent 3 days in the Blue Mountains just by myself.
Oh,
and
bliss.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
That's the response of an introvert. It's like heaven. And the other thing is, for introverts, that 3 days is so productive. And I don't mean you're sitting there doing tasks, because I wasn't. It's productive in terms of being able to process everything that's been going on for weeks or months or years, being able to envisage where one wants to go, reconnecting with yourself. And so you come back so much clearer and so much more directed.
Yeah.
And so in that sense, it's incredibly productive. The other thing that I really resonate with what you just said is not being as confident as you were 10 years ago. This is fascinating. I don't even think I've spoken about this, and I speak about pretty much everything, which is, I said this to my team the other day. I was like, Lord, give me the confidence of 23-year-old Jack, right? Like I'm now 38. And I'm a significantly better entrepreneur than I was 10 years ago. I'm fitter, I'm healthier. I've definitely feel like I've done the work to become who I am today. And in many ways, you lose that naivety and confidence of youth.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It's crazy.
I think it's because as we progress in our journey, we're handed far more challenging things. And sometimes I look at myself and I'm like, how am I doing
Not
this?
confident.
But how am I even making these decisions? Like my 16-year-old self or even my 20-year-old self would be like, who do you think you are?
Right.
Like sitting in that seat, making that $1 million decision today.
Yeah.
Like that one decision that's going to either make or break $1 million today.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, who do you think you are?
Yeah.
And that's how I feel.
Who do you think you are?
I ask myself that question every single day.
Yeah.
I think it's a journey, right, to finding who you really are, because for a majority of my business journey, I always thought that I was Amal from EQ or the founder of EQ or the CEO of EQ. But what I'm starting to realize is that there's a mile outside of that. And the sooner I realize or find that person, I think the happier that I'll be.
Yes.
And the more at peace that I would be, because
Yeah.
I think that when you start a business, you go through this journey of making this business everything as it
100%.
should be, because
Yeah.
you're a hustler.
100%.
And if you do it any other way, you're probably not going to make it. There's a
Yeah.
reason why only 5% of businesses actually succeed after, 3 to 5 years
Yeah.
or whatever it is.
Yeah, spot on.
But you get to a point in your journey where you're like, well, who am I outside of this?
Yeah.
And I'm still trying to figure that out myself. I'm trying to, do new hobbies and try things, and still don't really know what I like. And I even like at one point had an identity crisis and it was crazy because I would say to my partner, I don't know what I like to talk about outside of business. How sad is that? That when someone talks to me about something, I become disengaged or unengaged, whatever the word is, because I don't know what I like to talk about. Except for business.
I think a lot of entrepreneurs, myself included, can really relate to that, which is when you start out in business, you completely identify as that. And then, I'd say it's probably around early 30s where you kind of start to expand that identity a little bit. And as you say, I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with disengaging during small talk. I think that is a part of who people like you and I are. We're so committed and so mission focused and so obsessed with getting the most out of life. And sure, that can become more multidimensional as we age. But the fact that we kind of disengage during small talk, I think, is one of the prices we pay for the personalities that we have. I'm also super interested in the woman that's in the room that makes the multi-million-dollar decision today. What's going on for her under the surface that gives her the confidence to make that call?
Because I have no plan B.
Nice.
This is my plan A to Z.
Necessity.
And I will do everything and anything I can to see this business thrive.
Yes.
Because I started this business not for financial reasons, not because we saw a gap in the market or because we knew what the return was going to be. Because let me tell you now, it's actually far more financially rewarding having a good paying job than it is to have a business, because you don't see your payout until you sell, right?
Yeah.
Until you liquidate. It's that impact that we make. And because I have lived the journey of that transformation and who I became outside of that, and because of that, I wanted to be a part of that for so many more people. And so that is what gets me through every single day. It is the most rewarding feeling to see how many people we impact on a daily basis, but how much confidence, or even how we better relationships and even family life, and people are able to fall pregnant again and so on. Like, it's the best feeling in the world. And that's what gets me going and allows me to have that confidence to make those decisions. But also my really supportive partner that just says, you know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, snap out of it. I know you do. Just get it done.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah,
It helps, doesn't it?
Oh, he's honestly just changed my entire mindset.
Wow.
I was very like business, 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 business. And like, you know, my mental health and my physical health and everything was just like took a backseat. And then he came into my life and he's just so grounded.
Yeah.
And he just enjoys the simple things and he's so present. Like you talk to him and he's looking you in the eyes.
Yeah.
And it is a trait that I just adore because even my mum is like, when Luke talks to me, he literally just like his eyes don't ever are never off me. And he just responds and he asks questions and he's interested.
Yeah.
And he's just so present and he just like loves all these like simple things and loves to camp and be out in nature and, you know, all of the things. And he just tells me every day, you're just rushing to the grave. But that's because it's like I'm going at a pace that's like a crazy pace that no normal person should be going. But I'm just so stressed and so caught up all the time and in my own head and not there and not present and not enjoying it. And he just reminds me, it's not just about the destination, Amal. It's about the journey. Don't you forget that. He's like, you can get there in so many different ways, but why not enjoy it? Why not have fun while you're doing it? And so that's, I guess, what I'm trying to transform and become now. And that's the focus for me.
Yeah. And that's a beautiful thing. One of the things I really admire about you is you have a very clear sense of self and self-awareness, which I think a philosophy both you and I share is business isn't about being great at everything. It's about knowing what you're great at and knowing what you suck at and being completely okay knowing that the things you suck at will always outnumber the things that you're great at. One of the things you said to me today was, I can't talk about leadership. I'm not a good leader. And I'm like, I love that because there's a lot of people that run businesses that aren't inherently good leaders. Talk to us about that. I'm not a good leader and therefore how you set your world and your business up to cover what you think is a weakness there, let's say.
It's funny because my team will probably listen to this and think I am a good leader because I'm a good role model.
Yes, I agree with that.
Because they see me show up every single day.
Exactly. You lead from the front.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But do I possess all of the qualities that on paper a good leader should have or a good manager? God, no, I don't know how to manage people. Like I am the worst manager in the world. Not because like I treat them poorly, but just because I don't know how to manage people. And so for me, it was important that I built a team around me that could manage people because I can't manage people. Yeah. And also because as an introvert, as a founder that has this tunnel vision, I work my best when I'm just me on my own, not working in a team capacity. I'm very collaborative, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But in saying that, I needed to find people that would allow my team to thrive, to manage and lead the rest of the team. And so I've just put in a really strong head of departments and they report into me and they really appreciate my quirks of not being the best manager and leader, and we talk about it all the time.
And they're senior enough and experienced enough to not need to be micromanaged.
Yes.
And so you're kind of not leaning into managing them is probably a huge strength and an asset for them as part of why they work for you, is because you give them that latitude.
But also because I don't try and fake it.
Yeah.
So I don't sit here and say, yep, I'm the best manager and I pretend to be a great manager. I own it. Yeah. Sometimes they ask me questions on like particular things and I'm like, I have no idea. Yeah. I can't give you the answer to that. I'll figure it out and I'll get back to you. But that's why I hired you, because you're really great at what you do and I'm sure you'll find the solution for that.
So good. That's what makes you a great leader. And for them, that'd be so different, because a lot of the people that come in, professional managers with a lot of experience come from sometimes larger organizations where they're just used to being bullshitted to the whole time. Yeah. And so to sit in front of a founder who's incredibly successful and is an amazing leader and who just sits there and go, I don't know the fucking answer to that question. I'll figure it out, or you'll figure it out, but that's why you're here. It gives them the space to open up into.
Absolutely.
It's so cool.
It allows them to evolve into becoming that great manager and that great leader in their own space.
Yes.
And not just, living in my shadow or trying to do what Amal says and Amal wants and whatever. It's,
right.
I've hired you because I want you to make that difference in this business.
Yes.
If I wanted to make every decision, I wouldn't have hired you.
Yes.
And that's why I love my team, because they just own whatever their project, task, responsibility, KPI is. I know it'll just get done because I trust them and I don't need to micromanage them. And they're great managers and great leaders.
Yeah, you're definitely a better leader than you think you are. Another paradigm shift that you've been through recently that observationally I've observed in a lot of business owners since COVID is you were looking at 1,000 square meter office space, expand, more team, bigger space. I used to operate the same way, have had a similar paradigm shift to you. You're glad you never pulled the trigger on that because something changed for you. Walk us through that paradigm shift and your new way of doing business.
Yeah, so it actually came from a business, I guess, challenge that we faced. So we went to market a few years ago to raise capital for a pivot in the company. And so when we first started this business and moved into the tech space, we had a very premium service offering, which was working with a nutritionist, every member on our platform. But what we found was that people wanted a more affordable price point where they didn't need a nutritionist full time.
Yep.
And so we had to build the technology to fully automate that experience for nutrition guidance and meal planning and so on.
Yeah.
And that was going to cost a lot of money in technology. When I say a lot, I'm talking about millions. I'm not talking about hundreds of thousands. I'm talking about millions. And we were bootstrapped and we went to market to raise the capital, and it was a $10 million deal at that point. And the deal didn't go through. And I've never actually spoken about this. The deal didn't go through. We went as far as signing shareholders agreement, subscription terms and everything, which they should have delivered on the check, which they didn't.
Wow.
And so at that point, I commenced hiring aggressively. The team went up to over 40. It was crazy. We had these goals that we needed to hit and I couldn't slow the team down. So we hit the green light. We were like, let's go. And then 3 months later, no payment was made. And I had to make a really tough decision. It was go back to market and continue, try and raise the capital, which every founder that's raised capital knows that it's no small feat and it's a 3 to 6 month process, or build the technology ourselves, but have to look at it from a more cost efficient way. And I had to look at the team, and we ended up going from a team of over 45 to, where we are today, a team of internally, not including our contractors, internally we're a team of 12. And it's funny because the business is so different to what it was back then. We saw 300% subscriber growth in that 1 year alone. And I had reduced the team by 50%.
Yes.
But in saying that, right, the team is fully remote. We have people around the country, not just in Sydney anymore.
Yeah.
We touch base once a month. We all fly in and we have a Sydney, 2-day catch up, which is more intentional because we actually get to see each other and catch up and whatever. And that big dream of having that 1,000 square meter office with a gym space and this and that, is different because what we've given back to the team is we're allowing that small team that we have today to thrive in their role. They have purpose and they have a lot of intent in what they do. And also they appreciate the flexibility so much more because they spend more time with their family because they get to work from home. If they want to go to the cafe and work from the cafe or do whatever they want, I'm so flexible. Just get the job done. Just perform and meet your KPIs and you'll never hear from me really. That's how we operate. But if you don't have a profitable business, why are you in business? And so for me, it was like, how do we run this business as lean as possible while seeing that performance? And that was the number one thing that, for me is so important. It's like, how do we continue on this mission and make that impact without having to spend so much? Like, what actual resources do we need? And you know what? It's actually not fair to have the wrong person in your organization because you're just capping their ability to grow in their career. It's like you're clipping their wings. When they're not the right person or there's no opportunity growth in your company, you're just having them there because you're trying to fill space and have a big team and so on. It's like, well, what if they actually worked for someone else and they could have career progression because there's far more opportunity for them to evolve. And so I also had to accept that as well because it's always hard to let someone go. But it's like, but I know that you'll be okay and you'll probably be better off because they're going to give you a lot more than what we can give you here.
Definitely. To my observation, it's certainly been true for me when I've had to do this exercise twice. and it's absolutely been true for our inner circle clients as well, that when you downsize a bloated team, everything about the business gets better. Your ability to service customers well, your marketing gets sharper, your messaging gets clearer, your sales conversions go up because there's less noise and a lot more signal. There's less bureaucracy and less, I suppose, layers of complexity that enable you to be better and sharper.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And it allows myself, the founder, to still have those touch points in all areas of the organization, because that's why this business exists today, and I can't forget that. And even my partner says to me, like, you know, sometimes I'm like, oh, I think I have ADHD. I think everyone thinks I have ADHD. And he's like, yeah, but like your quirkiness has gotten you to where you are today.
100%.
Why don't you just own it? But it's like the business. It's my personality and my touch points and my quirkiness has gotten the business to where it is today. So I have relationships with our nutrition coach. I have relationships with our marketing coordinator. Like, I have relationships with everyone in the team. If anything, there's no hierarchy in this business. Yes, there's levels of authority and respect and decision making, but we're all equal in EQ. And reducing the team has allowed for that, because the lines of communication and so on, it's just, and there's so much collaboration and transparency. Like, everyone knows what's going on in the business at all times. We always talk about everything so openly.
If we talk about the growth that you've experienced, 75,000 customers is a lot of people that have come through your program. What have been the key drivers to your growth, do you think, as a business?
Yeah, I think number one is just understanding our audience. And not trying to target every single person, because our nutrition plans can apply to anyone that's looking to lose weight. But when you build a product for everyone, you're not building a good enough product. And so we knew exactly who we were talking to and who we were building a product for. And because I have lived that journey and I solved my own problem through EQ, I knew exactly what they needed and who we were speaking to, and I spoke their language. And so I think we've really nailed our marketing engine. And so that has allowed for us to see the growth, but not costly growth. And if you're growing your business and for every dollar you put in, you get $1 or less back, that is not growth. You're just inflating growth, because of course if you go and spend 50% or 60% or 70% on your revenue on marketing, you're going to see growth. If I do that, I'd also see the growth. But profitable growth and sustainable growth is real growth. And you can only achieve that if you really know who you're talking to.
I mean, again, I've got an interesting vantage point in the business world, obviously, but there is way too much emphasis, particularly from like media and social media and all that, on revenue growth. And if revenue growth is representative of growth in a particular instance, then that's awesome. But more often than not, if it's not profitable and sustainable growth, it's just more stress, more headache, and more sleepless nights for the founder.
Who's making money then?
Like, it's literally... It
doesn't make sense.
All it means is more stress. But there's no profit. And it's not purely just a... self-centered thing either. Yes, it means there's less profit for the founder, but what it also means is you've got a really stressed founder who's caring less about the customer because they're so stressed about the financial sustainability of how they're going to pay wages in 2 weeks. And so you get all these headlines, we 10x'd our revenue, or, you know, it's always the Black Friday sales. We did $1 million of sales on Black Friday. It's like, yeah, but when you understand how the CAC works and how the margin works in that $1 million, it's not something we really should be celebrating.
I'm so glad you said that. Particularly in direct to consumer, you need to know your customer acquisition cost. You need to know your LTV or your average order value. You need to know your COGS or your cost to serve, and you need to know your contribution margin. And if you don't know that, then what are you doing? Because if it's not in a positive, like if you don't have a 3-to-1 LTV to CAC ratio at a minimum, how are you making money? And you're right. Like it's not even about profit to the founders, because I've not taken money out of my business in so many years, right? We've got investors, we've got a cap table, and we reinvest that money into the business. But how can you continue to grow your business if you're not making any money in order to do so? And then having to go and fundraise every single 6 to 12 months is exhausting. It's emotionally draining. It takes you out of being able to operate and work towards your growth plans.
100%.
So yes, if you told me, hey Amal, go and 10x your company tomorrow?
Yeah.
I'd say, yeah, I'll just increase my marketing spend. I won't
Exactly.
have good marketing efficiency.
Exactly.
And I probably won't be profitable, but I can go and 10x my company.
Yes.
But bottom line won't look so great.
Yes. Yes. I love it. Okay, so we're talking about strengths that have led to growth, and you said you truly understand your audience, which is clear. That's enabled you to have a really dialed-in messaging and grow profitably. What else do you think have been some of the strengths that have led to the growth in the business?
I think for us, it's like understanding what we're good at and what we're not. And so for us, we focus on nutrition. So, you know, it's easy to be very, very, I guess, distracted by the shiny new thing.
100%.
So, you know, you look at a lot of our competitors and they're offering fitness and nutrition. But what makes us different is that we focus on just nutrition. So if you don't exercise, that's okay.
Yeah.
We can still provide you with a nutrition plan that is tailored to you and your activity goals.
Yeah.
But also we do promote a very healthy, active lifestyle. So don't take this as don't exercise.
Totally.
But it's completely up to your lifestyle. So I think really staying in our lane.
Yeah.
I think another one is not being distracted by shiny new things, like I said, because there's always going to be opportunities coming that come and knock on your door. A new ambassador that you could work with, a new commercial opportunity, a new pivot, a new this, a new that, a new marketing initiative. But when you have a strategy and a plan on a page, it's easy to say yes and no to these things, because if it's not what will get us to where we need to be in 12 months, it's a no, we don't entertain it.
Yes.
But if it does deliver, you know, result for where we need to be, then we'll consider it.
Yes.
And I think we've done a really good job at being able to say yes or no.
Yes. Yeah, that's such an important discipline for business owners. It's so easy to overcomplicate shit and chase shiny things.
Absolutely.
And the ones that build great companies stay focused on what they do well and what moves the needle day in, day out. This is what we started with in terms of, this is why I said there's no difference between you losing 30 kilos in health and fitness and building a great company. Why? Because it's about knowing what are the fundamentals and then sticking with them consistently enough to ultimately deliver the outcomes.
Absolutely.
Amal, you're a rock star.
Thanks,
You're
Jack.
a really good entrepreneur.
You're a rock star as well.
It's really refreshing to speak to a real entrepreneur that understands the economics and the fundamentals of business in a way that's inescapable. And I think you're a really good example of that.
Thank you.
If people want to follow you, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, I'm on every channel you can possibly think of. We have a digital business, so every platform you search Amal Wakim or you search
Wakim,
Join EQ.
Wakim, yeah.
You'll find me. You'll find the business. We're hard to miss. You've probably seen our recipes online or have seen a nutrition education video, a Malteser comparison video that I've done or something at some point in your life. But Jack, thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you very much. And for anybody like myself who hasn't seen the Malteser comparison video, I'm guessing your intrigue is as peaked as mine is. So I think we'll all go check that out afterwards.
You have to.
I think you're coming into your best decade yet, and so I think you as I said, you're an exceptional entrepreneur. But I think watching what you do and everything you become over the next 10 years is going to be really exciting. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
If you got value from this episode, do this now. Hit subscribe and leave a comment. That's what helps us to grow this show, attract world-class guests, and keep bringing you powerful conversations that move the needle.